Here we are, live from State Control Britain. Myself, and it's the wonderful Kent Carnivore, Lee Copus. Hi, Lee.
It's Kent. It's Mr. Kent. Kent Lee Berry, I think. How you doing, mate? All right?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. And well done on your blue blockers. I still just can't get used to them. I keep trying. And
Do you know, it's not even dark, but when you're editing all the time, sometimes you think, like, I'm just going to stick them on now, because my eyes get a little bit overstrained kind of thing.
Yes. I don't like these comments showing in the corner. I thought I'd try it, but it looks messy to me. My OCD playing up a little bit. Yeah, so how's your week been?
Not too bad. The weather's looking up, so I'm getting more calls to come out and clean the debris that's landed on the glass of residents, around my area, the Garden of England, Kent. So yeah, I'm sort of getting back into that a little bit. But I'm also juggling, we're making our videos and also the documentary, which I'm putting together, you're a part of, and there's some other people that I've interviewed. It's been a long time in the making, actually, but it's sort of slowly coming together, so it's quite nice just clearing that up.
Yeah. Now you're not streaming this to your channel for some reason, so it's a shame, really, because you want to play a little preview, don't you?
Yeah. No, I was thinking, like, let's just make it all about this one channel. Everybody can come to one place and hopefully create a little bit of buzz about it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a labour of love for you, isn't it? But you like the editing, and your videos are exceptionally good, actually. The quality is amazing.
Yeah, there's something about it. I don't know what it is. It's like, it's very messy at first, but it's quite satisfying to kind of slowly clear the bits up and get rid of bits. Usually I have like this tail end of things that sometimes you can integrate them, but sometimes, you have to be quite relentless in getting rid of stuff to make it more concise and succinct, and, not to waste people's time. So that's what I quite like to do when I make my videos, or sort of mainstream madness style vids, just to get straight into it. No time wasting, just education and a bit of entertainment.
Yeah, that's what we aim for. A little bit of education, a little bit of entertainment, and some jokes, which is quite good. What I was going to say is completely slipped my mind, actually. I've tried to do a video with a teleprompter today, actually. I put one out just to see how that would work, because you're right, it's a good idea to try and being as concise as possible and without waffle and all that sort of stuff. So I think that would be the idea of a teleprompter. But with all tech, the remote control that's supposed to make it play and pause and slow down doesn't connect. It drives me nuts.
Close your curtains or something instead.
Yeah.
Go back to bed.
The garage next door, the door went up and the car came out. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's things like that do frustrate you. And in fact, the first one I ordered was, I sent it straight back because it didn't work. It was that simple. It puts a bit of a mirror or something in front of your camera, and then you put the phone on it or the iPad, and it reflects up what you want to say. Wouldn't even work on the camera. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, right. So, would you like to premiere your thing right now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Should we get into
it?
It's
a mini trailer, a little teaser. The whole idea about this, really, I wanted to create something, an all-in-one stop that addresses the whole story, every facet. The idea as well is that this is hopefully going to be, highly shareable. I want to give you guys ammo. I want to give you guys what you need to convince the people that are worried or concerned about why you're doing what you're doing, because we all believe this is the most appropriate way to go as a human being. It seems that all roads lead to Rome, and no matter who I speak to that's sort of really done their homework, it seems that that's the case. Whether you look at it from an anthropological perspective, a nutrient density perspective, an anatomical perspective, you could look at any which way you like. It does seem that we are absolutely hyper carnivores, and I just want to get the word out about that and give you guys ammo so that you can perhaps share that with your loved ones, people that are concerned. And I do find it interesting, a lot of the time, the people that show the most concern are way more inflamed than I don't feel like I'm inflamed. So I'm just kind of cruising through life, really, in terms of how I feel in myself. I'm pretty sound. And so it's interesting. I get a lot of criticism from people that aren't in that situation. And so I find that it's just interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So let's put it on the stage now. I have not played this on a live stream before. I've run it before we went live, so I don't know if the sound's going to work. So if the sound isn't working or it's too loud, wave at me, Lee, and I'll change the sound. Let's give it a go. Here's the trailer.
Oh, I can't hear it at all. It's a bit glitchy, isn't it?
You can't hear it at all?
No, and it sort of seems to be going at a funny pace, like it's a bit glitchy. No worries. I don't know if I can.
Well, yeah. That's a shame, isn't it? I don't. Let's have a look at the share screen. Let's have the layouts, hotkeys. Oh, it's a shame that really.
Because it's live, it might be too much to handle. I bounced it out 720, so it wasn't too big of a too much of a file size to cope with. But
yeah, the annoying thing is I can hear it in my hearing aids, like I can hear you. So I just assumed that the sound would play. But okay, well we'll we'll remove that.
Change of plan.
Yeah, I don't know why that is though, because
it should be similar to when we react, kind of thing. When you just shove something in there when we're watching it, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it does seem to glitch a bit more, but usually it comes with the sound. I don't really know.
Okay, well, yeah, well that's why we should have tried it before we went on live, but I know you got a bit held up there. So anyway, right. When it does come out, I would suggest also doing some subtitles, or I could add some subtitles to that, I think, and we could play that on people could play it on their phone or on their iPad when they're at work and not have the sound on whatsoever and still know what's going on. And I think a lot of reels, about 90% of reels that are popular, already have titles on there. So I think it's something I would add, as a matter of course. So I've got a question here. let's say hello to everybody. So let's do that. So I've said a few hellos, and then we've got Cami. Hello everyone. And Chris is saying hello. Miria. Right, I'm trying to get this one because it's a new word for me. And then we've got that's having a laugh. Ule.
That's what it says.
Right, okay. SwimFit 57. Hello, and then we've got Rickard from Sweden. Bird Lady Anne. Hello. I wonder who that is. I guess she likes birds. She's a lady and her name's Anne, I guess. Michelle. Hello, Michelle. Hello. Looking forward to meeting you soon. And we've got just a plate of leftovers. Hello, Lee and Stephen. Do you think Liverpool will get a fourth slot this season? I have zero idea. I think possibly third, but there's also the chance they'll be sixth. I mean, the way they're playing at the moment, they're not playing very well. And Copus. I don't know who that is.
What is that?
I don't know. Nothing better to do. Jennifer, looking forward to that. Yeah, the documentary will be good, and it's. I'm absolutely gutted about that and not being able to play that. So yes, Paul, hello guys. Hello. Karen is saying hello chaps. Lorraine, hello. And then we've got Trudy, hello, all the way from the New Forest. And let's have a look. Coach Peter just got off the phone with Lee. This documentary sounds very exciting. Peter, it was your fault that you didn't get on time. Right, there you go. I knew there was a reason. You can't stop, Coach Peter. But we could have done a sound check. Anyway, right. So there's been some stuff in the news this week about pork having parasites. Have you got any thoughts on that?
I've not seen it, first of all. Is that to do with conventionally raised pork, I take it?
Yes.
I mean, I always preference sort of like the Iberico. I can get some of that stuff around here where it's just sort of mostly acorn fed. They're sort of free to roam, etc. And I don't think you'd ever have a problem. I eat that stuff raw every now and again. It's like butter. I've never had a problem with it. I've not heard about it. So what they're saying, they're just hyping up a little bit of, I don't know, trying to put a bit of fear in people.
I think it's based on things like on TikTok. You can put pork on a plate and then you can cover it with like a salty water sort of thing, or you can do it with a sweet water. And what happens is you get these little white things come out of the pork, and people think it's parasites. It's not. It's collagen that's coming out. But you know, these shock people that like shock you go, oh, look at that, that's a parasite. That's a parasite. They're not even moving. Well, they do move out. Under, you know, it's just the chemistry of it. But you know, Bruce is asking what's the name of the documentary. So you're going to just put it on YouTube, aren't you?
Yeah. Do you know, I'm still weighing things up. I've had a lot of suggestions. I put a lot of suggestions out there for my community, and I've got a few members that gave me some really great titles, and one of them was The Great Awakening, and I thought actually that's pretty strong. Just let the title and the relationship between the thumbnail sort of speak for itself, and hopefully if people click through, you know, it'll be compelling enough and interesting enough. And yeah, I've tossed and turned about different ideas, really. The great food lie, and you know, how we're going to ascend from this. You know, we've lost our way basically, and I was just trying to think, how do I get that across? We're living in a very sick society at the moment, and people are confused about what to eat, which is ridiculous because every animal knows exactly what to eat, and we're supposed to be the smartest, you know. But it's incredible. Right. Sort of remove yourself from nature. What happens is you kind of then rely on all these other sources, media, information, because we lose over time our autonomy, and we lose our intuition and our instinct. And so lots of people become sort of carbohydrate addicted, and they're basing their meals around grains, and they're eating multiple meals a day. And before they even question these things, I think that by the time they even hear something about carnivore or hyper carnivore, they think that sounds ridiculous. Oh, hyper carnivore, you know, you're just making up words. And it's such a shame that we've lost our way so much, that we're sick, we're confused. You know, our cognition's declining, the brain size, height, bone density, muscle, all of this stuff is on the decline, and it's amazing that we can't figure it out. You know, it's just brainwashing. And so the idea is to try and plant seeds, help people that are on the fence, maybe, you know, get them over and just give it a go. Because a lot of people, they sit there on the fence for a long time. They're sort of thinking, oh, I wonder how it's going to work for me. And is it the right way? Or what's your blood type? I've heard that, you know, it's more for this blood type, and I've heard I'm supposed to just eat mostly plants. And so just give it a go. You'll find out really fast if it works for you or not. Just try. So that's the idea, reaching as many people as possible.
Right. Now then, I have got a way to share the thing. So I'm gonna share it.
Okay.
You ready?
I am.
I've worked it out. I think I've worked it out. Here we go.
We're the only form of life that are sick as a population. And so that is wrong, especially because 100 years ago, we weren't sick as a population. Something is poisoning us. Something is harming us.
Maybe we've got it wrong. Humans are very trusting, and they also tend to believe what the people in authority will say. They believe studies, they believe doctors, they believe the media. But unfortunately, they're not looking beyond the headlines, and that's a big problem.
Meat eating has been a staple across all of early human hominids and all of our proto-humans that preceded our current Homo sapiens sapiens speciation.
This is not an appeal to nature. This is an appeal to science.
Since the agricultural revolution, our brain has decreased by about 11%, and we've got shorter.
There's no other dietary option that gives you as much amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals as a carnivore diet.
Our digestive system matches that of carnivores. Why are we magically omnivores? Well, the answer is that question is inherently flawed, because we're not.
We've been told that red meat is hard to digest, that it gets stuck or wedged in the colon. But if that's true, how is it in liquid form in the bag before it would even enter my colon? This isn't just an anecdote. This is reality.
The father ate meat, the mother ate meat, the pregnant mother ate meat, the breastfeeding mother ate meat, the young child, their first food was meat.
Don't let a bunch of people with a bunch of letters behind their name confuse you with made up facts. You can't just say, oh, it's a study, so I'll do it.
No, think it through, common sense and rationally.
Is curing people a good business model? Well, clearly it isn't. We're just collateral damage.
Mini teaser.
There you go.
Yeah, well done. Problem solved. I mean, the music's obviously a little bit clearer when you've got it coming through properly. But yeah, there you go. That's the idea.
So how long will the Great Awakening, as you called it in that bit, how long will the thing last?
Do you
Is it going to
know?
be 15 minutes, did you say, or half an hour? What do you think?
No. I'm hopefully aiming for like an hour. At least. I would like to be a minimum. If I can, as long as the quality is good, I want it to be, feature length. That's the idea. So it depends, but I don't want to just drag it out for the sake of the quality. If what I've got needs to be condensed down to 50 minutes, then that, so be it. So I just want a very sort of hard hitting, all in one stop for people at all levels, whether they're hearing about this for the first time, whether they can use it for inspiration or to share with others, to put their mind at rest, as potentially, that's the idea. And so, I don't really know, because I haven't even recorded my additional parts yet. So I've sort of interviewed yourself and Ken Berry, Chafee, Eddie Goeke, and I put everybody on the same prompt kind of thing. Imagine you're speaking to someone who's just heard every kind of other diet, like a spokesman for each diet pattern, and now it's time for carnivore. Explain to someone who's very open-minded why this is the most appropriate way to eat. And that was what it was. And, some people, like, they started out, just giving some of the obvious arguments. And then a lot of it towards the end, it's like, and anything else? And people start speaking from the heart. And I love that stuff. That's the gems. The sound bites really come from when people just start speaking about what they really are passionate about, and a lot of the sound bites that I really think are hard hitting came from almost the end, where they probably forgot that it was even recording. You know what I mean? And so there's some really good bits in there, and some very compelling arguments. And that's the idea. This wants to be, and it's not. I'm not trying to be compelling when it's not compelling. This is just accurate. I just want to do it justice. The whole story. So
yeah, good. Well, I'm glad it worked, because that's the best way to see it again. So. Ribeye Ranger is saying, hi friends from South Carolina, USA. That's good.
Okay.
And just saw an article a week or so ago in the UK Telegraph, how to eat 30 vegetables a week.
How to.
Yes. Notice it's not why. Oh dear, can you imagine that? I just feel so poorly. Right. Every animal knows exactly what to eat. Yep. Exactly. I was thinking that even vegans know this, because they frequently name their food after meat. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Got a question here. Good morning from Australia. Good day, mate. And what do you think of myo-inostino to help with insulin? I can't do it in the accent. To help with insulin resistance. How does it work? Thank you very much. You got any thoughts on it, Lee, or do you want me to go for that one?
You can go for it, but my first thoughts is that insulin resistance is not a pathology. It's not a problem. It's not a diagnosis. It's a dietary pattern and the consequences of that long term. So all you need to do is pull back on carbohydrates, reduce them to I wouldn't go ever on a bad day above 40 grams. I don't see why anyone needs to consume any more than 20, 25 grams of carbohydrates total for the day. But if you do that, you reduce your carbohydrates, you focus on fatty animal nutrition with the proteins, large ruminant animals, wild fish, whole eggs, fermented dairy potentially, you will start to allow the body to heal properly. You won't have this problem with the cross inhibition of fuel sources, carbohydrates and fats coming in. Therefore, your insulin will become, I've got to be careful about what I say here. You become more sensitive to carbohydrates and how insulin is, reacts to that. And basically you'll be able to just heal function of the body, liver, kidney, pancreas, everything's going to correct and mend, and it's just a matter of staying the course until you reach that point. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely agree, because all these problems go away when you don't stuff carbohydrates down your neck. So I don't think you need to add that to you, to your regime. But as Lee said, I mean, it's looking at improving insulin resistance, which isn't a thing, or improving insulin sensitivity. Well, the easiest way to get insulin working properly is to not overload your system with glucose. See, that's it. It's not a root cause thing. If you're finding that difficult and you wanted to try this, there is sort of some clinical evidence showing it lowers blood glucose a bit. It's a sort of sugar-like molecule, can act as like a secondary messenger, but I personally wouldn't use it. So, but it's a nice question. Thank you very much for the question. That's very good of you. People seem to like your trailer. So Ricard is saying good, great.
Good, excellent.
Oaktown Girl is just saying yes. Fit says it looks good. Oh wow, that's sound.
On a YouTube channel you subscribe to.
Right, I'm going to get this right one day. I'm going to get this name right. Miria. I'm going to get it. I am. That's the thing about being deaf. New words, trouble. Gaza saying hi all. Chris gives you a thumbs up. Trudy's looking. It says looks good. Looking forward to the release. Yeah. Most of my stuff doesn't get released. It escapes. Hello to both of you from South Wales and happy St. David's Day. I didn't know it's St. David's Day. Did you?
I didn't know. No. I thought it was just my day. Another day on, everything centers around me, planet Earth, Lee.
Yes. Looks really good, says Cammy. That's good. Hi all, Stephen and Lee, you two are so exceptional, knowledgeable and great to watch. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. No, thank you very much. Really appreciate the comment. Trouble. Hello, Trouble. Sounds great. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. So we've got a question now. Let's get a question. Don't forget the super chats, people. You can do super chats. You can, really help the channel. You can do super stickers and all that. So Jules is saying transitioning into carnivore, but with gastroenteritis and painful IBS. I appear to have less pain with eggs than meat. Do I slow the transition? Any tips, please?
I would always suggest a very, very slow transition, incremental changes. I understand if some people feel like they're really, really desperate, and that was kind of me. When I transitioned, I transitioned overnight. I think I got away with it in many ways without having the colon and upsetting so many gut bugs, perhaps, that I didn't have down there. But I think if you can transition as slowly as you're able to, that's only going to benefit you long term. You won't have such a hard time with different symptoms in the beginning. People call this keto flu. I don't really like the term. I think it's just carbohydrate withdrawal and insulin drops, and there's a number of things that happen afterwards. But if you're very sensitive, that's just even more reason to transition very slowly. And I wouldn't worry about even ketosis. Don't worry about tracking and measuring all this stuff. I personally would just absolutely stay away from whole grains, alcohol, seed oils, and any fibrous vegetable that isn't cooked to death. If you're going to eat anything like fibrous, just cook it to death. You got to think soft, and nutrient dense. So just go slow. And the idea, hopefully, is to get to a point where you're consuming fatty ruminant meat, whole eggs. I'm glad that eggs are working for you because some people do have problems with that. So that's a bonus. It's very convenient, and that it's always nice, isn't it, to be able to add eggs to your ground beef or your steak or whatever, even fish. And just judge the amount of fat that you're able to make use of based on your bowel movements and different symptoms. If you're eating too much fat, you'll realize because you're going to the toilet a bit more frequently because you haven't your body wasn't able to make use of that fat. And so everything's slow and just one thing at a time. So that way you're able to kind of detect a problem or a culprit, and you may be able to figure out, wow, that really is not good for me. I can actually do better on this for whatever reason, So if you're struggling, you think you want to sort of taper away the carbohydrates slowly but surely, but you want to keep some in, I would say, even though they're not local, if you're eating fruits and things like that, banana, if you've got a sensitive digestive tract, white rice is something that I would recommend, even though it's not going to be good for your blood glucose. Boiled potatoes, just make it very, very soft, but focus on slowly changing out these carbohydrates for fatty animal products, and eat what works for you, what you enjoy, what allows you to stay on track is very important, because if you don't want to put yourself off, you don't want to remember this experience like it was like traumatic, you know what I mean? You want to hopefully use this as a tool. You want to get to eating appropriately, and by the sounds of it, you've got some inflammation and some bit stressed out sort of gastrointestinal tract. So just take it slow, listen to your body. And if you have any problems, feel free to reach out, because I've got lots of experience with kind of digestion and different foods and different tips and tricks.
Yeah, brilliant answer. Absolutely. I'm always for the slow transition, unless your personality is an all or nothing. If you gave up cigarettes after 30 years of smoking them, or alcohol after, a lifetime of being an alcoholic, and you need to do that. Sometimes you need to do the whole shebang. You have to go for abstinence rather than moderation, but go in with your eyes open that, it's going to be difficult. You might be going to the toilet a bit more or a bit less. than normal. But yeah, great answer, Lee. I really like that. That's excellent. We did cover this earlier, but I'll come around to it because that person obviously was late. WD 25A, no problem with you being late in, but why are you wearing your blue blockers? You're in the UK, it's still light. We did already explain, but go and go for it again.
Just a little bit too much screen time today. I think I've come back and I've been editing for a while, and my eyes, what happens every now and again, I'll take a break, go outside, and it's like I feel like I've just woken up every time I do that. You take a break because you're kind of relatively close, maybe, I don't know, 2 feet away from the screen, and you just focus and you get stuck in. A few hours goes by and you kind of take your eyes away from the screen. You go, oh goodness, go outside and take a little bit of a break. But sometimes when I come back in, I get back to it. I think, you know what? Yeah, it's not dark, but I want to rest my eyes a bit. So that's the reason for that. I just find it helps, honestly. They don't feel as strained.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get on with the blue blockers. And so what I've done is shifted everything earlier. So I'm not actually on the screen late at night.
Yeah,
that's my practical way of doing it. Michelle, who's saying they've got a fructosamine test of 251. Is that okay? Yes, that's okay. And for people that don't know what the fructosamine test is, it's a better way of measuring glycation, your daily or average glycation, than the HbA1c, for instance, because there's no problem with the lifespan of the red blood cells because it's a much more immediate test, which is looking at about 3 weeks. And it's also looking at, glycated albumin as well, which is good. So there's always a proviso. You should also measure your levels of albumin, because if they're low, then you get a false reading. All of these bloods are really good. Fructosamine is 1,000,000 times better than HbA1c. But really, if you want to feel really confident, it's best to get the context-dependent labs that are appropriate for what you're trying to test. So if you're looking at whether you're diabetic or not, fasted blood glucose, fasted insulin, C-peptide are really good. Fructosamine, not the HbA1c. Continual glucose monitor, finger pricking is really good. But if you do fructosamine, also get the albumin measured. 251 is about the equivalent of a 5.8, 5.9% if you're looking at a standard formula. But that's non-diabetic, so that's pretty good. Right, let's have a look. Trouble is saying, hi, Stephen. Yes, hello, Trouble. Somebody told me off, not you, by the way, somebody else who has a name on social media and a name that in real life I use, and they don't want to mix the two. And I actually didn't know that, and they told me off. So I won't say what your name is, Trouble. I'll just call you Trouble. Right, Neil Franks is saying, can too much protein, meat, trigger high insulin? Not in the way carbohydrates do. And it's a little bit more nuanced because also it's coupled with glucagon, because what happens when you start eating protein, it takes up 5 times the amount of energy than carbohydrates or fats to be processed. And your body picks up on this extra demand for energy. So very nuanced testing of this will show that your blood glucose, when you first start eating protein, actually drops and then it starts to raise. And that isn't the protein that's raising the blood glucose, it's glucagon responding to the slight drop in your blood glucose because the energy demand has gone up, and it's a physiological adaptation. So it produces more blood sugar, and therefore it will produce a little bit more insulin, but it's absolutely physiological. So it's not problematic at all. Always remember the protein will raise insulin in conjunction with glucagon, and that is absolutely what the body should do. Sorry,
it's a good thing. It's appropriate. So it's very, very difficult to consume an inappropriate. I don't even know if it's possible. I suppose it is if you just isolated protein and you I don't know, you make a juice out of it. But it's very difficult to overeat protein, isn't it? Certainly when you accompany it with fats.
Absolutely. Right. Now, earlier I mentioned no super chats, and look, a super chat. And thank you very much. How would you pronounce that? Euridicity?
Euridicity.
Euridicity. Thank you very much for £5. We've also got WD25 £2. That's really good. Thank you very much. Well, if it's that simple, just mentioning stuff, I wouldn't mind a yacht. Actually,
don't purchase me a yacht.
Right. Good evening from Chesterfield. Yeah, where they've got the bendy spire, I think. Twisted spire. Yes, I'm sure that's there. Someone answering the question in the chat. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Shall I eat less fat while transitioning into a near zero carb diet?
It depends entirely on your starting position. If you're someone that hasn't consumed a lot of animal fats, I would just suggest taking it slow. If you're someone that's, had their gallbladder removed, I would say definitely take it slow. It's all about trying things out on yourself and seeing what happens as a consequence, good or bad, and then getting some kind of indication whether to reduce or increase certain things, protein, fat. How often, when should I start eating, should I delay it, all this kind of stuff. That's very nuanced, and so no one can tell you whether you're eating too much or too little fat. That's your body's going to let you know with some kind of feedback. So I would just go slow and figure out whether you can actually make use of more fat, because if you can, that's actually beneficial. Figure out how much fat can I eat roughly, and I go visually, and then from there I go by taste. And so sometimes if it's a very fatty cut, and I have been overwhelmed by very fatty cuts, where you think, do you know what, I'm done with the fat, I just want to eat some more protein. That's what I do. And sometimes it might be like putting, mostly fat away in the fridge and you come back to it the next day. But, don't force, just because you've heard someone say, high fat is the best way to go, or high fat for your hormones and it solves this problem, and sticks of butter all the time. And you got to figure it out for yourself, unfortunately. But that's a good thing. Whatever you're currently doing probably isn't working for you, hence why you're considering a transition. And so just gauge it as you go. And it doesn't mean that what doesn't work tomorrow won't actually work for you 6 weeks or even 6 months down the line. It's no race. Life's a marathon. Just take it slow and focus on what works, what doesn't work. And we're constantly experimenting. My diet is very, very different now from what it was when I started. And I think that's probably almost anybody that takes this kind of journey.
Absolutely. Yes. And you've got to look at your prehistory as well. If you've come with a gallbladder removed compared to if you haven't, if you've had a low fat diet compared to a standard American diet. So how you come to this makes a big difference in how you decide to transition. And I can't stress enough, it's all about what's appropriate for you. You do not have to have organ meats. You do not have to have sticks of butter. Always pick stuff that you quite like eating. That's carnivore. You should be all right. Hey, both. You are brothers in arms, apparently. Euridicity. Well, there's a swear word in that one. I'm not saying that word. Sorry. This is clean. I do one show a week where there's a bit of swearing. Can you guess who that's with? And I don't swear. So
it's not with Yellow Ted, is it?
Yeah, it is actually. Yes. This is a good one. Yeah. This is a good one from Lynn. I don't get it. Why are so many enchanted with vegetables to choose keto over carnivore? If you're going to mourn a group, I vote my loss of grains. They at least taste good. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes.
I do. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, for sure. Especially with me as well in my position. If someone put a gun to my head and said, like, eat some carbs, it wouldn't be a vegetable. There's just no way. I'd probably pepper in a bit of rice in the ground beef and just, stomach it.
Oh, what a good question. Yeah. What would I eat? Do you know what? I don't know. So are we saying that health is off the table? What would you eat if you could eat? If health wasn't an issue, or is it that health is still an issue?
I guess really, if you could add one thing and get away with it, or it was just as healthy as not adding it back in with carnivore or something, what would it be? If you could add a potato or some sourdough bread or some tomato, I don't know, whatever it is. I've thought about this many times in the beginning more so, but these days I don't really think about it. But it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think really.
Yeah, I can't put my head in that space in some ways, but I think I definitely used to love bread, but I don't know whether if I had bread, I suppose if the prompt is, well, don't worry about it, you're not going to have any side effects, just eat what you want, drink what you want. In addition, maybe it would be a bit of sourdough bread, because I could put butter on it and dip it in oxtail soup, or make a corned beef sandwich out of it, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? But I don't miss it. So, I mean, I like Sean Baker's answer when he talks about this. He says, if cheesecake was healthy, I'd eat it. but it isn't, so I don't.
Yeah.
I like this, actually. This is great. Meat Reset, go Louise. Lynn, just heard a good one on Dave Mack's channel yesterday. Keto is for the masses, carnivore is for the masters. Let the masses eat their 30 veg a week. Yeah, that's true. Let's have a look. Yes, absolutely. Fructosamine is considered a useful and sometimes necessary alternative to HbA1c for monitoring blood glucose control with people with sickle cell disease. Absolutely. And also people with hemolytic anemia, where they get an artificially low one, and people can say, oh, you haven't got diabetes. So there's a lot of physicians out there that do need to understand HbA1c a bit better. Neil Franks, many thanks for answering my question. Much appreciated. And apparently a yacht is coming up. Or I ain't buying you no yacht. So, split the audience here a bit. Gazza is saying, you know how much cost a full fuel tank for a yacht would be? Do you know what? The only reason I said yacht actually is because there's a person comes on called Mr. Beaumont who isn't on tonight.
Right.
And that's taken from a Friends episode where Mr. Beaumont buys a yacht, but Joey outbids him. And
Right.
that it's just weird. In this, I don't want a yacht. I'd never want a yacht in a million years.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sensible with my wishes. I just want like a space shuttle or something. Right. Okay.
Just want a colon.
Yes. Well, now, shouldn't I have said hearing? I wonder.
Yeah.
But, it makes me what I am. I was saying this to somebody in the week that I think one of the benefits, and this even goes back to when I used to do impro on stage, and I did that for 6 years running at the Fringe Festival. I think it makes me listen really intently and watch the lips, and, I've got subtitles here, so that makes it really easy. But I think really listening intently makes the deafness my superpower. I have written about this in my super Substack as well. I think sometimes what your disablement is or your downside can actually make you stronger.
Definitely. I agree with that. Yeah, I do. I've got more character. I'm harder to topple over. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm a bit more robust. When you've dealt with kind of trauma and a rough time, look, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, pretty much. There are definitely exceptions. I don't think that that's a rule that applies to all things, because that's definitely not the case for certain situations. It doesn't always make you stronger. But I think the fact that I've got my ailments, my brain and my heart and all that kind of stuff, and I can walk about and get on with life pretty normally. Most people don't know. In some ways, I'm grateful. It makes us what we are, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think I talked to a client about this recently, and I don't say it much publicly, but after my dad died, I was 10, my dad died, and we were very poor. I literally lived in like a Dickensian situation where we didn't have hot running water, we didn't have central heating, all of that. Yes, I'm only 62, but this really did happen. Well, 62 this year, and it really did happen. Anyway, I lost my dad at 10. By the age of 14, we were so poor that at night I was eating my bedroom wallpaper. I was chewing on that. So where my bed was, there was a big patch, sort of like triangular patch, where there was wallpaper here, and the next bit of wallpaper, I was just picking at it and eating it. I'm not jokingly, by the way. It sounds sort of funny, I suppose, but to me, I mean, it wasn't funny at all looking back. But I was that hungry, so I had this great big mark, But anyway, that's the first thing. Secondly, so yeah, I'd lost my dad at 10, then I lost my mum. Girlfriend to breast cancer, and I lost my hearing, which led to me losing my job, losing my house, and losing my car, because at that time I had a job that was very reliant on the phone. So I got to 23 and I thought, well, I'm lucky. Had to restart, but I'm not after the world's smallest violin, by the way. I'm just these things happen. Right. Lord Quarto is saying, could you explain why we are told that high protein diets damage the kidneys, and if this can be a concern on carnivore? We're told this because misinformation is very pervasive, and misunderstandings about what's going on just stick around. People don't want to do their continual professional development. They don't want to read studies. They just want to go and parrot what's being said. you need protein because your body's organs are made out of proteins and fats. You don't need carbohydrates. When you do kidney filtration tests and when you do urine analysis, protein in the urine can be a problem or could indicate a possible problem with the leaking of the kidney. But it doesn't mean it's the protein that's the problem. It could be the function filtration rate of the kidney. And there are many people that have been told that their kidney filtration rate is very low because they're using the EGFR test. And when they do a cystatin C test, which does not factor in dietary protein or creatinine, which is your muscle protein breakdown, when it's actually looked at the filtration rate of the kidney. And I think Jonathan's in the room and he's done the sort of nuclear tracer test, which is the gold standard, and he eats a lot of protein. Quite the reverse. In fact, protein seems to be critical, and in fact, lowering carbohydrates and therefore maybe undiagnosed diabetic complications are the biggest things that help your kidneys. And I've had that with success stories left, right, and centre, where people are told that, I've got one that had 2 weeks to live. I've had people that have got to a transplant, and only by taking out all the sugars after the transplant did the kidney start to work, the transplanted kidney. So the protein thing is not a concern. Now, if you have damaged kidneys, you still have to look at your protein intake, but it doesn't mean you have to stop eating protein. And animal protein is pretty good. This isn't medical advice, by the way. This is all stuff you can check. It's out there. It's information. There's studies. There are just tons of studies that have said this, and these are recent studies where pretty much everybody's in agreement that it isn't protein that is damaging kidneys. It is diabetic complications, which of course is lots of glucose, high levels of insulin acting on the nephrons, and therefore changing your fluid balance. So that'd be my answer for that one. I thought you might want to add something, but you don't have to. Nicholas is saying, not everyone needs to go fully carnivore. I feel I've got to 80% plus of my progress with my metabolic mess, not even doing proper keto, dropping to 100 grams of carbs per day for a few months. The changes have been amazing. Yeah, exactly. Do what works for you. My proviso, Nicholas, and I know I can say this to you because you're a great guy and you're a big supporter, is you never know how good you could feel if you dropped even more carbs. So sometimes that might be an experiment in the future. We think, well, let's shut that Stephen up. Maybe I'll do like 30 days lion and see how good I actually feel. And then, take it from there. But yeah, brilliant comment. Absolutely. And I think that's why people do stick to keto. Because, and I did this, when I was 50 and I realized I'd been lied to all my life and I went low carb. Well, that first couple of years of low carb, amazing. And then I sort of plateaued and thought, well, let's try keto. Let's reduce the carbs more. Wow, that's really great. Then I got to 55 and I thought, well, let's give this carnivore a try. I do like 30 days, 60 days, 90, I don't know. I do a challenge. And here I am 6 years later. So,
yeah.
Right.
I just felt like saying this, actually. A lot of people call this a cult. Anything can be a cult, but we're not exactly kind of reacting to this like we're offended or like you're not welcome anymore. If you're eating some carbohydrates, like, it doesn't mean that you're not welcome here. Me and Coach Stephen aren't treating this like a cult. We're treating this like, let's try and figure out how we can help people with their health. And for some people, that means going all the way. Other people, not so much. And that's fine. I'm doing what works for me. You're doing what works for you. Same for everybody else, and some of us, we're still just figuring things out. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think inherently we're a cult. It's kind of your attitude towards any kind of community, subsection of group of people, that I guess it depends on how you treat it, how you talk about it, buzz terms, loaded language, and how you treat others that are doing something slightly different for you. My thing is, if you can eat more fatty red meat and decrease your carbohydrate consumption, I'm like, yeah, way to go, respect. So yeah, absolutely. WD25, I actually find the taste of raw broccoli and raw cauliflower okay from memory. Tomatoes are delicious from memory. They freaking hate me though. I'd also get your memory checked. Sorry. Yeah. No, try it now. It might be different. I don't know.
But that isn't that, and that, you know, that is a, you know, a really interesting point, isn't it? Because that's my sort of jokey answer. I used to like peanut butter, but it doesn't like me. You know, so yeah. When we were talking about what food would you go to, it flashed through my mind to say, well, I used to like peanut butter, but boy, no.
What are you going to do with it? Put it on your steak or? Yeah.
No, I was one of those that would take a spoonful out.
Right.
You know,
And try and
so,
talk. Dry mouth.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. $20. That's great, from Vladimir. A small token to support good and entertaining content. Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, that's what we try to do, really.
Absolutely. In fact, hopefully we've got one coming out tonight. The latest sort of mainstream madness style video. So yeah, it should be a bit of a blast, and we're not taking ourselves too seriously. We're trying to help and keep things light and entertaining at the same time. So
yeah, it hasn't got to be all serious stuff. Now, this is an interesting one as well, Lorraine. If there is bad language, I just leave. I don't think there is any need for that in this space. I agree with that, but I think that's Bart's thing. So people don't watch Bart more than once if they don't like swearing. And that's his character, you know. Now, I don't like swearing, but occasionally in comedy, for comedic effect, it is excellent. I remember John Cleese, who I've gone off recently because he seems to have lost it, but he was talking about being born in Weston-super-Mare, and he did this brilliant sort of rant about how boring it was and awful, and I hated it, and And 30 years later, when I became really famous, they wanted to put a statue up in the UK, and it was at Western effing Supermare, right? So we added the swear word in the middle of the name, and it was funny. It worked because it just worked. But anyway, right. Here we go. Gaza. I am French. I would love to eat a baguette every day, but some do and some don't want to look like them. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes. You don't want to look all doughy, I suppose. I agree with Lynn and Lee. I would add freshly baked bread with lots of butter. We've started something here. I'm not going to keep talking about the food because I don't want to trigger people that are trying to not eat that. So,
but I think, you know what, I almost welcomed that. So when I started to go carnivore, right, about, I don't know, it could be 6 weeks in, 2 months in, 4 months in, Lucy, my mum, my dad, whoever wasn't 100% at that time, and Lucy still isn't, Sky isn't, people around me, even my friends and that, they would sort of go, sorry, Lee, like they're eating something that I wouldn't eat. And oh, sorry, Lee, you get on and do whatever you want to do. And I've got to get used to this. I can't pull myself aside from social situations and work and everything and hide away so I can kind of stick to carnivore. I think that just get used to walking into a supermarket, get used to walking into a gas station or petrol station. They've got coffees and the bakery and the pastries. You get all that smell, get used to it. I started to get pleasure out of saying no to all of the things that I loved. And I actually really, really started to get fired up about how much control I gained over my addictions and being weak in certain situations. And so for me, I welcomed it. And I kind of like to be in a position where, I don't know what it is, where I'm not doing what everybody else is doing, eating the way sick society does. I'm proud to not be doing that. I'm really, I welcome it. You know, don't worry about it. You're cooking something and it might smell nice, you know, but I don't care. I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to eat the fatty red meat until I'm full. And then I just don't care after that, you know? So yeah, it's a matter of getting used to it. It's everywhere. What are you going to do? You know? What
are you going to do? Yes, that's true. There was a thing that I thought was quite funny, which was, oh yeah, well, it's on the screen. Lee wants a colon. Stephen needs hearing. I need a working aorta. So, wow. Yeah. Apparently us two are the Incredibles, which is good, as you were. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh yeah, this was it. Phil Richardson, when I was a lad, didn't even have wallpaper. Right.
You know, when I was young, I have a memory of we'd sort of like try and redecorate. There was like 6 layers of wallpaper. They'd never taken them off. They just put more and more and more. So I've got like all these different styles of wallpaper in my bedroom. That was well funny, but yeah.
I think that was alluding to a Monty Python sketch, wasn't it? The Yorkshireman, you know. Oh, you were lucky. We didn't even have wallpaper. Oh, luxury. You know, you don't know that sketch. No.
I don't know.
No? Okay. It's basically 4 Yorkshiremen talking about how bad their life was. And one says something, and then the next one says, oh, luxury. And then it's even worse. And then it gets very exaggerated. We used to wake up half an hour before we went to bed. Mum and Dad would split us in 2 with a bread knife and all this sort of stuff. Right. Let's have a look. Oh, yes, we've got a question here. So let's have a look. Nicholas, I've got thalassemia. Anything with emia, by the way, is in the blood, and it comes from thalas is a place as well. Anyway, that's where the name comes from. So let's go back. So trait common around the Mediterranean. Does this trait really increase risk for iron toxicity if carnivore? I've seen many such warnings, but don't fully trust the sources. Well. Yes, well, no, it doesn't really. It changes your mean corpuscular volume and your sort of your hemoglobin. So it changes the numbers, and some people can lead into that to read that if you have a problem with hemoglobin, you're going to have a problem with iron. So it's not really an answer I could give in a couple of minutes here, and it's very technical, Nicholas, but I definitely can get into it maybe in the school community. So we've got the Common Sense Carnivore thing coming up online later. If you want to pop in there, you can do a transferrin saturation test and a ferritin test and a couple of others, TIBC and UIBC test, serum iron, and you can really check this if you want. The confusion is that iron deficiency is often associated with small red cells, and people are given iron supplements, and that doesn't work over the long term. But yeah, we could get into that. You're right, though, not to trust the sources because they don't understand that you end up thinking. So yes, let's have a look. Trouble. My dad always says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. There is a lot of strong people in this community. Yep. And you can be a foodie, even though you're mostly carnivore. I think that's very true. Yes, absolutely.
Still a foodie. Yeah. I went from loving certain carbohydrate-ridden foods to fatty animal nutrition. I still get quite excited about food, especially when I build up an appetite and take my steak out. I'm like, oh, can't wait to eat that.
Yes. Right. So let's have a look at the next thing. What is an ideal CRP? Sorry, Lee, this is very boring for you because this seems to be all blood related. C-reactive protein. Standard ranges where I get tests are 0 to 9 milligrams per litre. Yes, well, let's give you some context. That's not a bad range, and if you're under 5, that's pretty good. And some people on carnivore will say to me they can't even get a reading because it's so low, which is good. Shows your systemic inflammation is very low. But if you're arthritic, you could be at 120. And I've literally had people celebrate going from 120 down to 80 and then down to 20. So it's all contextual. But yes, that's a good range. That is a good range. And the lower, the better. That's what I would say. Coach Peter is saying something. Well said, Lee. Do what works for you. But when you start telling us eating plants is what we have to do, that's when we start asking questions. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I don't think there's any more questions, actually. Oh, hello. Did you want to?
You got April Parcher, actually, there.
Oh, let's have just a look at this, though, because I think this is good. I'll do it in order. WD25. There hasn't been a single day where I've had any desire to eat any carbs whatsoever. Maybe I'm weird or lucky in that regard. Do you ever get desires to eat anything bad?
I did up to about 4 months. That was the worst of it. Every now and again, you might get tiny little background call based on if you smell something like that, but not really. It's interesting. I've had like a couple of colds and carnivore, and that's it. During those colds, I did have some sort of sensation of having like a bit of burnt toast with Marmite on it, things from the past, just because I think it's an association. When I used to get sick and I'd have chicken soup and dip bread in that, or have like, crispy, like burnt toast, basically with a bit of butter and Marmite. But it's just, I think it's an association, for me, once I got better, you come out and you think, oh no, I just feel like steak or red meat, ground beef or something. So not really. I think every now and again, it's rare, but you get this tiny little background noise, but it's so minuscule in the background, it just doesn't bother me. And by the time I've actually eaten what I know is right for me and I do best on, I've already forgotten to be honest with you, the moment I'm dealing with the steak, I've forgotten about it. Just can't wait to eat the steak. So
yeah, I don't think I really get. I don't think I get any sort of cravings at all, really. But I weirdly do have those sort of visual moments where if I see someone having something I used to enjoy, I might briefly go, "Oh, that looks good. That looks really good. I wouldn't mind having that one day." But the other thing I would say is if I go on holiday, then I like to try the local foods. Definitely like to try the local foods. And so we're actually going to do a trip away. And if there's a local cuisine that, is very popular, then I'll probably partake, but only like a small bit, because I don't want to get home and think, oh, I really wish I'd tried that because it's famous for XYZ cuisine. Yeah, and I like to find out when I get there what the locals are eating. So, you said there was a question, didn't you? Yes, we're running out of time, and I've got to get ready.
I know the answer to this actually, but it's April Parcher based on C. diff, I think.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, guys, either of you
Go on, mate. Sorry.
Either of you recommend a probiotic that gets past stomach acid having to take Difficid or for C. diff? Oh, sorry, I thought you said you had the answer for it.
Oh, no. I'm not too sure. I mean, I would only really recommend like a really high quality, high fat kefir. That's what I recommend after alcohol use or antibiotics. But other than that, it's very dependent on the state of the stomach acid, what you've been eating, the state of that, where you're sitting on the pH scale. I don't know. What do you think, Stephen?
Well, yes, that's the problem, getting past the stomach acid. There is a thing called Saccharomyces, something or other, begins with B, the next bit, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And that's apparently the only probiotic that has been evidenced to get past the stomach acid. April, you know me from the community. So yeah, if you message me later, then I'll send you the details of that. But I can't remember off the top of my head the full name of it, and I certainly couldn't spell it out for you. So good question. It's alive, but that is a yeast, by the way. So I don't know if that would be the best thing in the world for the situation. But anyway, right. I want to thank everybody because I've got to go to the little boys' room before my 6 o'clock on my school group, which if you want to join, I'll get the links. How's your group going, Lee, as well? Yeah,
it's good. A lovely bunch in there. Quite impressed, actually. Some of the posts and the support that people give each other. And that's the thing. It's interesting because there's still a couple of people in there, I think, like that. They're worried about engaging, they're worried about different responses, but that's the whole reason it's there. This is a space where you don't have to worry. Don't feel like you're being judged. It's just, there's no wrong or right questions to ask. Absolutely not. No one's sort of thinking any different of you. We like to just help people, and I think that's true of everybody in there. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it is. So Lee, thank you for being a guest. Maybe you'll come back again another time.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe there'll be another clip or a bit more finished on your documentary you could talk about.
Yeah, maybe a date or something at the end of the trailer.
Yeah, pretty exciting. All right. Cheers, mate. I'm going to stop. The stream. Thanks, everyone on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. That would be very handy.